Hello everyone, this is Andrew sir. Welcome back to Dynamic Troubleshooters channel once again. In today's video, I'm going to show you how can you configure a simple LAN network with DHCP. After ending this session, you will have a better understanding and visualization on each and every steps of LAN configuration and DHCP configuration and much more. Okay, let's continue. Here you can see a simple network topology. In this topology, I just wanted to show you what I'm going to configure in Fortinet firewall. Suppose that the top Fortinet firewall and and then the switch. There is a point-to-point connectivity on Fortinet firewall and switch, and then the users distribution will be given from this switch. Here you can see there are two Wi-Fi networks for mobile laptops and other devices, and some laptop and desktop in LAN connectivity with LAN connectivity. So I'm going to show you how can you configure this simple network diagram and distribute the IP address with this way. Okay, let's continue. Here I'm going to choose port 2 for the point-to-point connectivity from Fortigate firewall to switch. Suppose that this is a Cisco multi-site 2960 or 1350 switch as a distribution or access layer. This topology is for the demo purpose or experimental purpose. Okay, that's why this is a simple topology I have drawn to show that. Okay, let's continue. I choose the port 2 for point-to-point LAN connectivity from Fortigate firewall to switch. Let's give a name LAN. Okay, then I have to select the role. Okay, the role must be LAN for LAN network. Then I can configure the LAN with many settings. Now I'm going to configure the LAN with the static IP. That's why suppose that I'm going to configure this LAN with 10 series IP 10.10.10.0 slash 255.255.255.128. Suppose that I'm taking a 128 LAN network where 126 usable IP will be available for end users and LAN. Okay, sorry, there should be one. Okay, now which administrative access should I provide and which administrative access should I provide with which purposes? Okay, I already discussed this in my previous video during WAN configuration. Okay, but today I'm going to give a short description on this. Okay, you have to select HTTPS if you are wanted to give an administrative access through HTTPS from graphical user interfaces. Find an user try to access your firewall through this IP, then they have to put IP address in browser with HTTPS. Then the firewall can be accessed through HTTPS. Okay, but the HTTP access should not be provided because this is an insecure. Then you have to enable ping, because otherwise you cannot get uh, ping from user end to firewall for any kind of troubleshooting and connectivity checking, etc. So if you have uh, FortiManager, then if the FortiManager is connected through the LAN, then you can you can enable this FortiManager access to provide to connect your Fortigate device to FortiManager. If this is not needed, you don't need to choose or enable FortiManager access kappa. If you are provide Wi-Fi, suppose that if you provide Forti Wi-Fi through this LAN, the then you have to enable, you have to give the cap of access to detect Fortinet 40 Wi-Fi through this connectivity. Otherwise, if you are configure 40AP through this LAN connectivity, you won't be able to detect 40AP if you are not enable this access. And then if you wanted to access your Fortigate firewall from LAN network through SSH, then you have to choose SSH, but I don't think this is needed for local connectivity. Then if you are trying to if you have to monitor your Fortigate firewall through SNMP through local area network, then you have to enable this option for local connectivity. If you are wanted to provide user access with Forti token by user ID and password with two-factor authentication, then you have to enable Forti token mobile. Otherwise, users don't be able to um, access with two-factor authentication by their user ID and password. Okay, and user attempted to access your Forti internet through user ID and password. If their user ID and password are protected by two-factor authentication, then they have to give a code which is actually provided through a mobile application called Forti Token Mobile. Then the access must be enabled to provide this access. If you are not providing your users a with two-factor authentication or user ID password to access internet, it is not needed to take. Then the radius accounting. If your organization are using third-party authentication server such as radius server, this can be enabled in Windows Server, Linux Server, etc. to authenticate user ID and password of Wi-Fi or local users. Then you have to enable a radius accounting. Otherwise, your users, local users, I mean LAN users, are not able to authenticate their identity through Wi-Fi or their user ID and password. Okay, then what is it? If you wanted to detect your local users, I mean LAN users, end device identity through Forti client, etc., or if you wanted to identify Fortinet related products such as Forti Wi-Fi, Forti managers, etc., then this is the way. Otherwise, if you don't enable this Forti telemetry, then the users cannot be able to cannot be able to detected by Fortigate firewall. Okay, and this is a Fortigate proprietary protocol. You can see as like a Cisco CDP. By using this protocol, by using this service, Fortigate product can detect others Fortigate products or applications, etc. Through this phototelemetry. Okay, then you should enable on it to detect your end devices through FortiClient application or your end devices. Okay, then I'm going to enable DHCP server through it. After enabling, if I wanted to reserve some IPs for aesthetically provided for to provide aesthetically, then I can reserve from there. If I select my starting IP at 10.10.23, then the DHCP server are not going to provide the previous IP. I mean 10.10.1 to 10.10.22. This IP are not provided by DHCP server. In that way, we can reserve some aesthetic IPs from DHCP server. Okay. Then the net masks should be 255.255.128. I can select. Then the gateway should be same as interface IP. That means the user's gateway will be 10.10.10.1. When users getting IP from DHCP, their gateway must be 10.10.10.1. Okay. Then what is the DHCP server will be provided by this setting by this DHCP server. What is the DNS server address are going to provided by this DHCP server? It is provided by provided the system default DNS server. I mean, which DNS is configured in DNS setting. Then the DNS server address will be provided through DHCP IP configuration. We can also provide another DHCP server, DNS server, if you wanted to. If we are wanted to provide another DHCP server such as 8.8.8.8 Google and 8.8.4.4, okay, then the DHCP server will provide the primary DNS server IP is 8.8.8 and secondary DNS server is 8.8.4.4. If your organization have a private DNS server, okay, private or public DNS server of your own, then you have to provide, you can provide the DNS server as your primary DNS server. Okay, if your organization are also using Active Directory, file server and other services through your DNS server, then you must be provided your private DNS server first. Then you can provide another DHCP server, DNS server, public DNS server as a backup. Then here I configured two public DNS server for showing purpose. Okay, here then the DNS server is enabled. Okay, then I have to enable device detection service and active scanning. After enabling this, the device which will provided the IP address through DHCP that can be detected, and that means the device identity will be detected by device detection. By this device detection features, each and every devices will be identified which manufacturers they belongs to. I mean, if you are connecting a Android device, it will detect this is an Android device. If you are connecting an Apple devices, mobile or a laptop, then it can be identified through this device detection option. Active scanning, this will scanning the active session, current active session, each and every devices. Okay, it will shows the device is active or not, or it is idle, it is in idle mode or not, etc. Okay, then you can assign a secondary IP address, I mean as a backup IP address through this along with this IP, but the user's IP, user's DHCP IP will be provided from this range. Okay, so here is the LAN configuration is done. Okay, then click on the OK. So the LAN configuration is done and the DHCP configuration is also done. So after connecting your switches with Fortigate firewall by using a UTP cable with point to point, then you can be able to see your interfaces here. You also can be able to see the user's IP distribution through DHCP from there. Okay, because the interface is currently down, that's why the DHCP information cannot be seen from DHCP monitor. Okay, after enabling this, after connecting this interfaces point to point, then you can provide users connectivity from the switch to end user. After a complete connectivity, users when the users are enabling DHCP to get IP address automatically from DHCP server, then they are going to get their IP automatically from the DHCP server. Okay, after that you can see the DHCP reservation, DHCP IP reservation, and DHCP release time, etc. from there. I forgot to show you one thing. This is the DHCP release time. This is another important features of DHCP. So DHCP list time defines actually how many times, how many days an IP will preserve for an end users or end users devices. After that, the IP, after the ending of this time, the IP will revoke from users and return back to DHCP server. So how can you enable DHCP list time? By default, there is a 7 days DHCP list time is set up by default. Here, double click on it to customize the value. By default, there is a 7 days value in second. You can, if you wanted to set up a 3 days list time for DHCP server, then you have to divide this value into 7. Then you will have a 1 day value in second. Then you have to multiply this value with 3. After that, you will have a 3 days list time value. Okay, you can customize this list time as far as your requirements. Okay, after when the client devices are connected through this DHCP server with Fortigate firewall, then you can see their end users devices from there also. Okay, you can also see their devices, device name, IPs, and their MAC address, IP address, host name, and the expiry days, etc. Okay, this is the configuration of simple LAN and DHCP server as well. In my futures video, I'm going to show you how can you configure VLAN, redundant interfaces, lag interfaces, etc. So keep watching my videos and don't forget to subscribe my channel if you don't want to miss my upcoming videos. Okay, that's it for today. Bye bye. See you later.